All right, so after about 5 hours of driving this morning, the last hour or so on a dirt road, I have arrived at my point of entry in Algonquin Park. I'm hoping to photograph the tail end of the moose rut. We're in the middle of October here, so there should still be an opportunity. Pretty nice weather. It's 10 degrees right now. Kind of windy, but I'm heading across the lake. I should be okay. But the next couple days are rainy, which doesn't make for good photographing, or at least it makes it a lot harder. So I'm hoping to get lucky with the weather. I'm hoping to get lucky with the moose rut. But if that doesn't happen, I'm just going to enjoy my time in the backcountry and hopefully document it in a way that makes it interesting for me to post my first YouTube video. It is 11:30 though, and I'm quickly running out of daylight hours. So one change that I have to make is I have to make this change right here. Because for the first 3 or so hours, I think I am going to be in an area that is likely to be hunted by the local Algonquin populations. They have rights to hunt inside the park, I think starting this weekend. And for the first 3 hours or so, I think that there are some old logging trails and ATV trails that go close enough to where I am that I'm going to wear this just to be sure, and I'm going to make sure I'm staying out of everybody's way as well. After that, I think I'll be okay. I think I looked at some satellite images, and I don't think there's any logging roads after 3 or 4 hours of travel in the canoe. So I'm going to get my canoe loaded and out of here as fast as possible because, like I said, I am running out of daylight hours. All right, I hope it's a good trip. All right, so I am almost ready to go. All of my bags are packed. All I got to do is load them in the canoe. The last thing I have to do is just outfit my canoe with a bow line. What the bow line will allow me to do is if I get out on a steep bank, it will allow me to tie it to a tree so the canoe doesn't float away. If I do tip, it will allow me to help pull it to shore using the rope. And on a portage, if your stern of the canoe is a little bit heavy and it's pulling the bow up, you can hold on to the bow line, and that brings the bow back down. It makes it a lot easier than having to pull down on the gunnel. When you have a bow line, also known as a painter, it's important that it's not too short. You need to be able to tie it to trees. You need to be able to use it. Plus, rope is always useful when you're in the backcountry, so bringing a little more rope than you need is never a bad thing. But when it's longer than where you want to tie it to your canoe, it causes a problem. So the best way to solve that is by using a daisy chain. So the daisy chain helps you shorten the rope easily, but also release it and lengthen it again easily. So the first thing you're going to do is start a loop, and then all you have to do is pull through on your loop until you have the length of cord that you want to have. So again, I'm just putting a loop through the existing loop, pulling it tight while I maintain control of the tag end until I get what I think is the correct length of rope. I think that should be good. So now instead of pulling a loop through, I'm going to pull the tag end through, and that allows me to cinch it and it will not release anymore. But once I take the tag end out, I'll pull it and the whole daisy chain will release nice and easily. And then all I got to do is attach it to where I want to in the canoe. I like to be able to detach this easily, so I use a simple friction knot, just frictions against itself. It doesn't have to be super strong. You're not really pulling on it. And that is good enough. And there is my bow line and my daisy chain. All right, get this stupid thing off my head and get the boat loaded up. I'm excited to get out there. I'm losing a lot of daylight. It's been about half an hour since I got to the entry. and I want to get on the water, so let's go. All right, as I said, it's very windy, straight headwind, and it's a pretty big lake, so definitely hard paddling right now. I have two paddles with me. I have the kayak paddle, I have the canoe paddle. I prefer the kayak paddle for distance, big lakes, big rivers, but one bad side of the kayak paddle is it shoots water in the air on every stroke, which gets in your boat, which gets on you, and when it's cold, that doesn't feel good. The other thing is, when I'm trying to take pictures in the canoe, the kayak paddle's too long, it gets in the way when I'm trying to maneuver. So in those situations, I prefer to switch to the canoe paddle. I'm comfortable with both, but the kayak paddle's more efficient, I find. So, especially in situations like this where it's really windy, to me it's an advantage to have a kayak paddle. And you should always have a spare paddle anyways, in case something happens. You need to be able to switch to something else and get yourself out of trouble. So, I think it's going to be about a half an hour probably for me to cross this lake, and the wind is getting worse and worse the further out of this bay I get. One thing about this time of year, I'm not paddling with any type of dry suit or anything like that. I find it way too hot when you're tripping to paddle in that stuff, but adds a level of danger because if you tip, you really don't have very long before you need to get out of the water. So crossing big sections like this, it can be a little bit dangerous this time of year. But it's a straight on headwind, the waves aren't that big, so I don't feel like I'm risking very much right now. All right, I've reached the other side of the lake. Just under half an hour, I guess. It was definitely a very strong wind. But like predicted, now that we are into the mouth of the river, or we're getting there anyways, the wind has died down quite a bit. And paddling, although it will be against the current, I imagine it's going to be a lot easier than what I just did. But you never know. We'll see. I'm not sure what the water levels are like. They're high. The current could be really strong, I guess. Definitely not warm, but it's good paddling conditions in terms of I'm not overheating and I'm not too cold either, which is good. I do think tomorrow and Sunday are going to be quite a bit colder, to the point where I might have to bring out my paddling gloves. The water's definitely cold on the hands, so if the air is really cold as well, that will present a problem for sure. Not out of the wind yet. Keep blowing my boat to the right, which means I can't paddle quite as efficiently as I'd like because I'm always doing a sweep stroke. But I am getting a little bit of reprieve with the paddle stroke on the left. If I was just using a canoe blade, single blade, I would probably have to be paddling on the right-hand side all of the time. So that's one of the areas where I find it more efficient. Now you got people who don't believe in using a kayak paddle in a canoe, which is fine. But they usually say that it's just because you don't have enough skill to use a canoe paddle, which in all honesty I think is not true. I think there's many reasons to use a kayak paddle. Now when you're two people in a boat, I prefer a canoe paddle. That was cool. That was a mink. I don't know if I got that on. There it is, still there. I think that's a mink. Super cool. I wish I had my camera out. Stupid. I wish I had my camera out. Very cool. Let's see if he's curious. Hey, little guy. Hey, little guy. That's one of the problems of having your camera packed in a waterproof bag, is that most of the time your wildlife encounters are brief and quick. There was no way I was getting my camera out of that bag in time to take a picture. So, I hope I caught it on the GoPro. Might have been a marten, not a mink. I'm not that good at smaller animal identifications. All right, first portage. All right, first portage. This is the first trip I've done where I've carried my full wildlife photography gear, long lens, as well as a second landscape lens, plus all the batteries. And I'm also carrying my big tripod just in case I can do some video as well. So that's the first time I'm carrying, like, the tripod adds a lot of weight and a lot of bulk. Then on top of that, I'm carrying all the gear for filming and documenting the trip, and all the batteries and the power banks that go along with that. So I have a lot more weight than I'm used to carrying. I like to pack light and efficient, but there's only so much you can do when you have to get all that batteries and all that kind of stuff into your bags. However, I still want to be efficient. I don't want to do these portages 2 or 3 times to carry everything. So I'm trying to make a system that works. Because I have more of gear, I had to bring 2 bags, and I had to bring a bigger bag as my main bag than I wanted to. So I'm still going to try to make that work. I've come up with a system. I'm going to try it out. This is the longest portage that I have. It's almost 1 kilometer long, just over 900 meters. I'm going to give it a go. I'll show you what the system is. All right, so first I put on the bigger bag, which I don't like this bag, but I needed the larger size for the tripod. I could fold my tripod off, I could take the gimbal head off, but then it's not ready to use. So to me, that wasn't really an option. I wanted it to be somewhat ready to use. So this is all the camping equipment, plus batteries, plus tripod. And then in this bag, I have my camera, my lenses, extra camera batteries, and some smaller photography items. So the bag is not light, but it's not crazy heavy either. But having two bags and carrying the canoe at the same time causes a problem. So what I've come up with is that I attach it to the life jacket here with two carabiners. And then it sits in the front like that. So kind of looks ridiculous, but because it's away from my body because of the life jacket, I actually can move my legs quite well. And the balancing, the offset weight actually makes it not too bad. I don't know what it's going to be like to try to pick up the canoe because I haven't tried that yet. I should be able to carry the weight of the canoe in these bags. It's just whether or not it becomes so super awkward. The other thing is it's super cold outside. Actually, it's getting colder, and I'm going to make sure I dump the canoe out every time I come to a portage before I put it over my head because I don't want all that chilly water to come on. So this is awkward to pick up for sure. Okay, super awkward to pick up because of the bags in the way, but I do think I'm gonna be able to manage this. I got the paddles wedged in the back. I got the two bags and I got my life jacket. I do think I'm gonna be able to manage this. We'll see, here we go. All right, so the verdict is that the overall weight is not too bad in terms of on the legs. Having all the straps on the shoulders plus the canoe yoke, for sure there is some pressure that's a little uncomfortable. And the bag in the front is a little awkward, really only when going uphill, because it gets in the way of my knees when they're trying to go higher. But, and it's awkward to get the canoe on and off because the bag is in the way. But apart from that, in my opinion, it's worth it because the amount of time I save doing the portage in one shot. This portage is about 1 kilometer long, so you can imagine if I do it once, that's 1 kilometer. If I have to take 2 trips, then I am doing 3 kilometers total, which means I am adding a minimum of a half an hour time to the portage. And a lot of people have to do it 3 times, which means you'll be doing it 5 kilometers total, and you're adding at least an hour to your overall time, which means you can't get as far into the backcountry. So for me, whenever possible, I like to single portage. I think that's the #1 thing that slows people down on canoe trips, is the amount of time they take portaging. But what a beauty spot to end at. Super nice. And there was a really nice view of the rapids down there, not too far back. So once I get all the bags off and everything, I'm gonna go back and take some video of that rapids and maybe a long exposure shot as well. Hot on the portage, cold on the water. Absolute beauty of a spot. Just walking back to the end of the Portage after spending a little time at that set of rapids. Thought it'd be a good time to talk about what I'm carrying on me at all times, just from a safety standpoint. So in my life jacket, I have a pouch on the front. I have bear spray that's easily accessible. I have inside the pouch, I have a Garmin Mini InReach, which gives me the capability of making an SOS, not a call, but an SOS signal or text message. And then in my zippered pocket of my pants, I have my multi-tool and I have a waterproof lighter. So if ever I was separated from my gear, this is stuff that I would have on me all the time. So I don't know, situation, I tip, the canoe goes down a set of rapids, this is stuff I would still have on me all the time. And from a bear spray perspective, listen, as a wildlife photographer, sometimes you are, pushing the limits a little bit of safety. I try to always do it ethically. I don't like to bother the animals, but you're hidden and you never know. So having the bear spray on you is, in my opinion, a good safety practice. I also forgot, in my pouch on my life jacket, I also have a pen flare and bear bangers, which they are like a launching explosion that obviously doesn't cause any harm to the animals, but such a loud explosion that normally it scares them away. And then there's also a flare option if I was in problems and I was trying to notify somebody that I could see across a lake or something like that. So safety wise, that's what I have on me at all times. And then obviously my clothing and all that kind of stuff is in a waterproof bag inside my backpack. So that is it. Let's get loaded up and get on our way. This filming is definitely slowing me down. I'm used to traveling a lot faster. I hope I make it to the campsite before dark. If not, I do have a good headlamp with enough batteries for the whole weekend. So anyways, I hope I get there before dark though. All right, so I have decided to change the location of my camera bag. It was up there in front of that thwart, and I have moved it in between my legs here. So it's kind of a tight fit, but it gives me at least a chance of accessing my camera quickly if some wildlife pops up. The way it was before, it was going to take me at least a minute or two to get it, and it was going to be a very noisy process. So I'm going to give that a go. A little tight, a little, I don't have as much mobility with the legs, but I think it's not so bad. All right, to be honest with you, it has been a very tough day so far. The wind is so strong. I knew I was going to be fighting the current, that I knew, but I didn't realize the wind was going to be such a factor. It's a direct headwind, and it's like it's not being sheltered at all by the fact I'm in a river. So it's a direct headwind, plus I'm fighting the current, which is making it twice as slow. So I am traveling much slower than I expected, and I don't know if I'll get to where I was planning on tonight. I think I only have about 2.5 hours left of daylight, so anyways, we'll see. right, I made it to the next portage, and it is 4:30, and it's getting dark, and it's getting much chillier. I got a good chill on right now, and I think the smart thing to do is to camp here. It's a beautiful spot, anyways. I'm disappointed because I wanted to finish the portages today so that I could focus on photography tomorrow, but that didn't happen. Late start in the morning, late getting to the park, a little bit slow getting on the water at 12:30, and then fighting a headwind and current all day long. I was much slower than I planned on being, combined with the time I spent taking video. So, I mean, I gave it all day. I gave it for the 4 hours I was on the water, pretty much nonstop paddling apart from taking video. Just couldn't make much ground, much headway. So I'm gonna camp here. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is collect firewood. I wanna do that before it gets dark. I only brought a hatchet. I don't have a saw. So it's a little harder to get firewood. So I'm gonna get going on that. Normally I'd set up the tent first, but today I'm gonna get the firewood first. Gonna get a jacket on, and that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so a quick change into some warmer clothes on top. It really got a lot colder fast. I still just got the pants that I was wearing all day on the bottom, even though they're wet. They're gonna dry off quickly, and I'm gonna be active anyway, so I don't think I'll get cold. I also moved up to a higher spot. When it's cold weather like this, the cold air drops further down. So if you're up a little higher, you might get a little reprieve from the coldest air at night. But I gotta find some firewood, and it's all big, tall pine trees here, and I only have a hatchet. I'm not cooking on the fire, so I didn't need to make big fires. And again, I have all that camera equipment, so I tried to save a little bit of space and a little bit of weight. So I only brought a hatchet. I didn't bring my saw. So I'm pretty much stuck to sort of down trees and big limbs that have fallen off the trees. So hopefully it goes well and I can find enough firewood to sort of sit by it for a couple hours as it gets. Well, honestly, it was a bit hard to find wood. The forest is just really tall pine trees here, and then some deep underbush, but not a lot of the smaller type trees that die a little bit more. And if I was cold, I'm not cold anymore. I've been working hard, which is one of the lessons of coming into camp. If you're cold, don't just stand around and do nothing. Give yourself a task. Make sure you're moving, make sure you're active, eat something, and you'll get your heat will come back to you. But if you just sit around and do nothing, you don't improve. So I think I have enough firewood for tonight. I gotta process it a little bit more. Kind of wish I had my saw. It would make it a lot easier to process this piece, but anyways, trying to save space, trying to save weight. What can you do? And it rained here for the past 3 days, so it's difficult to find stuff that's dry. What I have will burn though. Probably some axemen that's going to come on here and tell me there's a safer way of doing that, but actually, I invite you to go ahead. It's good for people to learn. This is how I've done it, but I'm always ready to learn new things too. So if you know more than me and there's a safer way of doing that, go ahead and drop it in the comments. All right, so fire is good. It's going. I set up the tent. I thought I had filmed it, but I guess the battery died during the process. This is the REI quarter dome tent. I love it. It's a solo tent. It's super small, super lightweight. It is small inside. You're not getting a lot of stuff in there, and the vestibules are small. But it's so lightweight and it packs so small that for me it's worth it. So the trade-off is you don't get a lot of stuff inside it, you don't have a lot of room, and the vestibules are small. But on the flip side of that, it's super lightweight and it doesn't take up a lot of space in your backpack. Well, it feels like midnight, but it's actually only 9:30. I was pretty much ready to go to bed at 8 o'clock, if not earlier. Sort of kicked myself in the butt, went down to the water and tried photographing the stars a little bit. I haven't really tried that really very much before. So anyways, mixed results, some okay pictures. And then I did a couple self-portraits around the fire. And then I cleaned up camp and now I'm in bed. And I'm tired, so I think I'm going to sleep pretty well, even though it's cold outside. I hope to wake up early tomorrow morning. I got 3 portages to do, nothing crazy, and I'd like to be done the 3 portages early in the morning, so that I'm on the other side of the river earlier and give myself a better chance to see moose when they're a little bit more active. Anyways, we'll see how that goes, but I'm ready to sleep, that's for sure. See you tomorrow morning. Hey everybody who made it this far, thank you very much. I haven't really decided what the potential of this series could be. For now, I haven't put episode 2 or 3 together, but if I get a couple people who subscribe and
maybe a couple people who make a comment that they'd like to see episode 2 and 3. I'll put it together and I'll get it out pretty quick. For now, here's a couple scenes from what could be episode 2. Have a great day, everyone.
I came around the corner and saw the moose just as I came around the corner. I was already close.
Getting a thunderstorm. Oh shit, I gotta go. I'm gonna hope that's a sign of good things to come. It's still raining, but the sun is shining through off in the horizon.